All right, here we go. Welcome, everyone. We are about to launch into the 5 steps to freeing yourself from custom home building and remodeling sales. Look forward to diving into this with you here shortly. We'll wait for a number of people to get rolling in as I see more and more people getting going here. Usually takes a minute before we are able to get kicked off. Something I'll mention, if you haven't been on any of our panel webinars, we have another one coming up in December. For those that want to keep an eye out for that. Panel webinar we're going to be doing with Eric Fortenberry with JobTread, with Spencer Powell of Builder Funnel, and also Paul Sandeman with Contractor Staffing Source. So really some great insights and industry experts that we'll be sharing with that upcoming webinar. So keep an eye out for that. And we'll give it another minute or so as people are still kind of rolling in here, I see. And then we'll get going. So just a couple of housekeeping items. Guys, we'll do a Q&A. I'll leave Q&A to the end. We'll definitely have a few minutes for that for sure. There is at the bottom of your bar here in Zoom, there's a Q&A button. By all means, put any questions you have that come up throughout the webinar as I'm going through some of the content. By all means, throw in your Q&A, and I'll get to as many of those as I can at the end. And again, I'm here to deliver as much value as possible. My goal over the next hour is to make sure that you leave here with confidence and belief and trust in the fact that you can actually get yourself freed up from sales. I think that's typically one of the last ones and hardest ones for us to get freed up from. But with no further ado, let's dive into and get this thing kicked off. And we're going to do that right now. So let me share screen and we will start this process here. So let's go live. Okay, so 5 steps for freeing yourself from a custom home building and remodeling sales. We are 4-Level Coach. So if you don't know who 4-Level Coach is and who I am, we basically help. We just work with builders and remodelers. We do not work with any other trades or outside of the building remodeling world. We help builders that are typically doing $1 million to $10 million in sales, scale to 25 million plus, while freeing you from the day-to-day operation. Now, how do we do that? We're not a typical coaching business. We are coaching plus implementation. We help, and you'll see throughout this webinar that we'll talk about is why we can get the results we get with people and how we can actually make a difference, not just coaching you and giving you good insights, but also working with you through the process. That'll come real clear as we move forward. A little bit about myself here. I started my first business in '95. And I knew enough to know I didn't know nearly enough by '98. So it took a few years along the way to go, oh boy, there's so much more that I need to know if I'm ever going to get to where I want it to go. So what 4-Level Coach does today is during that process, I knew enough to know I didn't know nearly enough, and I started working with my first business coach. From '98 to 2007, it took me 9 years to get what I call ultimate freedom of time and money. That's what we do today at 4-Level. We can help people do that now in 2 to 3 years. So I've shrunk down that process. We put together a system, and 4-Level Coach is truly a system, right? We're actually shifting to the terminology of the 4-Level system, right? Which includes 4-Level VAs, virtual assistant. It includes software integration. It includes coaching. It includes implementation of the coaching program along the way is where we're heading with this whole thing, okay? So by 2007 to 2017, I got myself removed from the business in 2007. I went on and started another business and then another business after that while I freed myself from each one of those. Now, what ultimately kind of blew my mind is that, hey, not everyone's doing this. And what I pulled off was actually fairly unique and very, very, we'll say rare, right? And so 2017 rolls around, I sold that initial core business. And by 2019, I had started 4-Level Coach, which is now my ultimate passion, is really sharing how I did what I did along the way here with all of you to do the same things. And today we're going to talk about one of those pieces, which is the sales side, right? That is such a key element. Now, if you're a podcast listener, you can jump on and check us out at the Building Freedom podcast here, or you can check out any of our books. Now, I've written a series of books that we have the next one coming out called uh, The Business Savvy Builder. That'll be coming out hopefully in the new year, very early into the new year. But our Elite Builder Sales System is the book we're going to focus on today. You can grab these on Amazon. You can go to our website at the number 4levelcoach.com and grab those under our resources. But today we're going to get into this. How do we get ourselves freed up? Now, before we get into the guts of this and the steps, and there is 5 steps to doing this that will make it really simple, and you'll see that everything is a system and a process, right? Now, with this system, why is it so important to get ourselves freed up from sales? Why is it so important that we make sure that this happens in our world, in our business? It's because if we don't get you freed up, then you become the bottleneck, right? You become the bottleneck. Growth will stop when we are too busy. And what happens, you get this roller coaster of revenue, right? Sales, we get lots of work, then we stop selling, and then we have that dip. And this is pretty common in this industry. So with us being the bottleneck, we end up with the roller coaster of feast and famine, right? We want to stop that feast and famine. And how we do that is getting you freed up from sales, you not being that bottleneck. Now, freeing up from sales means we don't have the bandwidth and time, right? We don't have the bandwidth and time that our clients want and need. They want and need more time and attention and hand-holding than we can possibly give them as the owner, because you're pulled in 50 other directions, right? You'll see as we walk through this what a game changer that one is. When you get freed up, what ends up happening, and you'll see in the end here that you can actually make a lot more margin and take things to another level when you have more bandwidth and time to spend with clients. And I don't mean you, I mean when you get yourself replaced in it, right? Because that person, then that's their sole focus. That's 100% of what they do. It's a completely different game for them, right? The other fact is here that we're capped. We're capped with a revenue ceiling. We're going to hit that ceiling at some point in our business if we're the only one, because there's only one of you, right? So no matter how good you are at sales, no matter how good you are, there will always be a cap if you are that person, right? This is why we have to get this to be a repeatable system that's scalable for you, and make sure that we get the right people in the right seats doing this for you, right? So the business needs you to be the entrepreneurial leader. This is the next critical piece. The business needs the entrepreneur in the seat. When you are selling, when you are doing everything else in the business, you don't have time to work on the business instead of in it, right? Like selling is an in the business activity. That is an absolute in. That is not an on the business activity. So scalability is impossible until you are out of that seat, right? It's very, 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 very difficult to scale when you are the salesperson. Now, the last, I think, which is really critically important, is the long run of this, is the value of the business, right? There's no real exit for you. There's no real freedom, which we'll share throughout this whole thing. There's no real exit or freedom or value in the business if you are it. Because the fact is, investors, buyers, when your time comes where you want to step out or transition or have a successor come into place, they're looking for repeatable sales process, right? They don't need the rainmaker. You can't be the rainmaker and have business value, right? So before I get into these 5 steps, and I'll stop share here for a moment. Before I get into these 5 steps, what I'm going to do here is walk through. There's a little story about my buddy Greg, and I met Greg originally at Job Tread Connect. Now, at Job Tread Connect, Job Tread is Connect is an event that happens every January. If you're a Job Tread user and you've ever been to or haven't been to Job Tread Connect, you got to go. Honestly, one of the best events I think that I've honestly ever been to, especially in this industry. extremely fun, insightful, a lot of great topics and speakers, incredible event. But Greg sat down at the table I was at during lunch, and he saw my shirt, and he sees my shirt, and he goes, "Oh, you're a business coach here." Right. And I think he made the comment that, oh, business coaches are snake oil salesmen. I kind of laughed at the comment, but this is in his mindset. This is the inundation of coaching these days is coming across at that level for him, right? So we chuckled about it, but we got on to talking a bit more about his business. And he started sharing with me how, and honestly, when we got talking about this, I understood how well his business was set up. Now, this is a guy that is an outdoor remodeler doing outdoor living spaces, really nice business. Actually, Greg himself, a smart guy, really dialed in, and you'll see this throughout this story. I mean, he is put together a beautiful business and honestly a well-oiled machine. This thing is fine-tuned operationally, production, extremely good, right? Hovering at that well-oiled machine thing, which is again for me in seeing this is extremely rare. Very few people get there, right? And what he shared with me is that he also mentors some other small business guys. And he obviously is extremely good at what he does and extremely proud of what he has built. And he should be proud of what he built. And the fact is that very few people get there, and especially on their own. Now, I know he didn't use a business coach because, well, we're all snake oil salesmen. So it wasn't like he had gotten there from business coaching, which is what I typically see. Most builders, remodelers that have gotten extreme success, including myself back in 98, as I had shared, I got the success I had gotten was through business coaching that helped me take and go to the next level, right? And then it compounded over the years by doing that. Now, Greg didn't do that. He figured it out on his own, which was incredible and amazing to me. But there was a but for him, right? And there was a big but. And the truth is, and this is I quote, he said, regardless of how great my business is, I'll never get freed from it. Now, when somebody shares that with me, that I'll never get freed from my business, that is a strong statement, right? And you can feel the weight of that in his words, right? This is to not be able to get free from something that I've built that is so good is very difficult to believe, first of all. And then second of all, man, do I want to try and help this person, right? So I asked him the obvious question. I said, well, why not, Greg? Well, this business sounds pretty dialed in. What's keeping you stuck in it? Then he shared with me what I would say most builders and remodelers struggle with. I mean, 90+% of the industry that I see struggles with. And he says that I am the only one that can sell our projects, right? And he went on to say that, you have to know so much technical stuff that it's almost impossible for me to get someone to sell and sell at the level that I sell to close these deals. And he said, the truth is, I'm also really good at sales, right? I don't want to brag, but I'm one of the best salesperson there is, and I can outsell everyone. Now, I've heard this a lot, and I actually believe this to be true, is that most guys out there, most builders remodelers are really good at selling. And being really good at selling is an amazing gift, and it's also a detriment. And I'll say it's a detriment because at the end of the day, it creates this misconception, right? It's this misconception that I'm the only one that can sell, right? And if that's a fact to me, that I'm the only one can sell, and it creates this misconception that no one else can sell as good as me, what does this do, right? So this is this epidemic that's going on, that if I'm the only one, then I'm stuck, right? I feel stuck. I feel trapped in a business that I've actually done really well in so far, right? And I've built a nice, well-oiled machine. And then he went on to say, even if I could find someone to sell, that I couldn't afford it anyway. Now, that's the next one that most people will struggle with, is just affordability, right? It's the absolute affordability. Can I afford this or not, right? And the truth is, most people feel like they can't afford it. Why? Because if I put somebody in place and I pay them, and I have to pay them for what I currently do, I'd have to sell a heck of a lot more if I'm ever going to make up that difference of me giving away that money. And the truth is, remember what I said earlier, you're going to be capped. You're hitting a revenue ceiling if you're the only one. So here's the fact. When you can have a scalable sales engine that works for you, you can go way beyond that. And you will see that you can increase margins when somebody has a lot more time to hold hands, to hit that need and want of the client to spend more time with them, right? Because what Greg said very clearly to me is that, man, I don't have time to spend with them. So what ends up happening is I gotta burn and churn, baby. I gotta move these things. I gotta move my clients through as quickly as I can. So I just can't get to the margins that I want to get to, right? So again, you're going to see how this will work as we go through this process and how it'll transform, hopefully, your thinking as well as it did for Greg along the way. And then the truth of the matter is, at the end of this, you'll increase margins and you'll bust through revenue ceilings. That's the total game changer, right? So at the end of the day here, Greg is sharing this with me. He feels trapped in the business. There's no way he can afford it anyway. And that's just not the case once we kind of talk through that, right? And so what Greg had built is a beautiful business, actually a dream business, clean operations, happy clients, right? Steady profit, but he's trapped. He's trapped in this, what I refer to as, a golden cage or this success trap, right? Build a really nice business. Now, not everyone we work with has already built, a well-oiled machine. Many of us are struggling to get the machine working as well. At least Greg, at this point, he had the machine really well dialed in, extremely successful, built great product, incredible projects for people that, are life-changing for them. But every deal and every dollar still went through Greg, right? So it was dependent on him. He had success with zero freedom. Now, for me, I was fortunate right out of the gate. And I don't know why this was for me, or, I can't, looking back, I mean, we're talking 30 years ago when I started my first business in 95. But for whatever reason, I felt like sales couldn't be reliant on me. And so, for whatever reason, in my DNA, right out of the gate, and I was a salesperson, I started the business from being a salesperson and said, okay, I can't be the salesman. I'm going to grow this thing. So, in my DNA then, which allows me today to talk to Greg the way I did and say, Greg, I know for a fact, 1000%, it is possible to get you freed up from sales. You just need the system. And this is the step-by-step process that I'm going to share with you guys here today. Right? You need the system to make it happen. So I shared a few success stories with Greg and about some of the builders and remodelers that we've done this for and how well it's worked and how it's changed their life and their business. But of course, you can imagine Greg wasn't buying it, right? Greg was not buying the fact that, because hey, business coaches are snake oil salesmen. He's not buying into the fact, but the truth is he was intrigued. And I think people get intrigued by this being possible when we are, I will say, when we feel as stuck or trapped as he did, right? And you can feel that weight and the heaviness of it. So, that was a point where if you're getting intrigued enough that it was like, okay, man, here's what we should do, right? I showed him the book. I said, dude, I'm going to give you a copy of my book. Come on up to our booth. Remember, we were at lunch when we met. I said, come on up to our booth. I'll give you a copy of our sales system book, the Elite Builder Sales System. Then this is one of the steps that will help you understand how we're going to do what we're going to do if we help you through this. Or if you want to do this on your own, this book will be a great start to that happening, right? And so I gave him the book. He threw it in his bag. I remember throwing it in his bag. He was like, okay, man, I'll take this and I'll flip through it maybe on the plane on my way home. Which, I thought, hey, 50-50 chance he might do that. He might not. Who knows? I gave him a copy or our link to book a strategy call with me. I said, if you want to move the needle and you're interested, schedule something with me when you get home. And then what was really cool about it is a few days later, of course, Greg booked a call. And we got on that call and I could feel it again in his voice, this heaviness that, hey, man, I don't know, this is a long shot, but the book intrigued me. And so I want to hear more. So we went a little bit deeper, right? We got deeper onto it. And then I started sharing our real 5 steps and how this works. And I'll get through this with you guys here in a second. The next piece is, and you guys might feel the same way here. He said, "Hey man, that is awesome. And it sounds great, but it also sounds like a lot of work, right? There's no way, I don't have time for it." This is all the typical stuff that comes up. And I know that you're probably feeling the same way right now. It's right. Really? I don't have time. Like, how am I going to possibly create these 5 steps and get through this? Right. Right. And he also said 2 things. He said, "I'm terrible at hiring, and I don't know how to put together a really good comp plan, a compensation plan with an incentive strategy to pay for somebody in this role. So those 2 things are going to kill me in trying to get this done." So of course, we know this. We know this for a fact. And as I started off, that we are not just coaches. The reason that we're not just coaches is exactly because of Greg's story. It's exactly because, no doubt, of your story, right? If you've worked with coaches in the past, coaches will get you to a certain place, but without some help and implementation in a lot of cases, it's very difficult for people to take that further, right? And I know, especially trying to free someone up in sales. So what I said to Greg, look, we can put together, kind of a specialty plan for you, that bespoke type of model, this customized, tailored approach where we can do something special for you, work with you. Because the fact is, Greg was flying solo, right? And what we refer to us as is being your co-pilot. If you're flying solo in your business, we like to be the co-pilot. Co-pilot sits beside you, but not just the co-pilot, but also our implementation team. So it's going to be about our implementation team that's going to help Greg get this done, right? And so yes, he had some, concerns about getting it done and how he was going to get it done, but we're going to take that to the next level. So that's what we did. We got working with him. He said, I'm in. I got nothing to lose. Let's check it out. Let's start the process. So he did. And I'll share with you our 5 steps. Give me a couple of seconds here to pull that up for you guys. Just need that again. When I shut down, I shut it down, and I shouldn't have, but just give me a second and we'll bring this back for you guys. So, okay. So, share screen. Let's get into this. All right. Get through these and we get into step 1. So this is the actual process, what has to happen. Now, again, what you guys got to get done is, assessing your current sales process. And you got to strategize yourself a game plan is how you're going to get through these steps and make this happen, right? So what we did with Greg, we did exactly this. We assessed his current situation, his current sales process. Now, the truth is you may not have a process mapped out already, right? So what we needed to do was create a new sales process map. And we take that from pulling out of Greg's head what's actually going on. How is he doing what he's doing? How's he selling today? How's he showing up? What's his process for qualifying a lead? Through moving a lead from, a qualified lead through the sales process, that initial client meeting to our proposal or estimating and everything along the way to closing the deals and then onboarding the client. That is a process to get through. Now, for most of us, we do what we do it naturally. We do it by instinct, right? But we don't have a process mapped out already. But the simple fact that you actually do something or do what you do, you have a system. You don't have it intentfully designed. It's not built, it's not on paper, but it is a system. It's your system. In fact, it's your way, right? So we need to pull out what is your way in your current process. We take that current process and then we know what we're going to layer in on top of that. And we say, okay, let's create a new sales process map based on how you do what you do today. Let's create a new sales process map that helps you get through this entire thing detailed and dialed in. And this new sales process map is our guide to creating this whole thing, right? Now, what is this giving us? It gives us and the business the clarity that we need to move forward. That's one of the most important things. We need the clarity to move forward. It also allows us and the owner to see a repeatable path to the first, or a repeatable path for the first time ever. right? So this for the first time blows people's minds. It's like, oh my, this is what I need. This is what I wanted. I now have a repeatable path that I can see. And I didn't realize that I did have a little bit of a system in place. You've now layered in the Elite Builder sales system and everything else with it. You went, okay, this is a repeatable process. Got it. Okay. I'm getting more confident. As we move through this, we need more confidence as we go. That's going to build momentum for us, right? So now we turn that instinct, how we do what we do naturally, into a structure. So that's the game changer. Now we have the foundation for training and scaling the results, right? So step one, foundational, gives us exactly what we need, the clarity we need, the structure in place. Now we can go build it. So let's get into step number two, right? Now we need to start executing that elite builder sales system. Remember, this here is just, it's chock full of everything that we need to do. Now, in this book, it it takes us from a new lead all the way to closing the deal and onboarding a client, and through that process, all of those steps. So we want and need the SOPs, the standard operating procedures for each one of those steps. The Elite Builder sales system brings that together, right? We go from a new lead to a qualified lead to now an initial client meeting. Now at each of our meeting stages, we want to build presentations out. We want to create something that you can do again instinctually, but you're going to hire somebody to do this. Now we need to give them the tools to be successful. The Elite Builder sales system, you can't see it on here, but it's the 5 secret weapons to closing more deals at higher price points. So each one of these weapons are basically weapons for your salesperson to give them these assets they need to show up and basically separate yourself from the competition. Now, if done properly, this sales system actually closes deals before you meet the client for the first time, because there's 2 or 3 things that we're going to send them in advance that just immediately separates you from competition. So it's not you needing to be the top salesperson, it's giving the new salesperson the tools to be successful, right? This is the game changer, right? So what does step 2 deliver for us? It transforms sales from a personality driven process into a proven professional system. Now, for yourself, your personality and how you show up and how you sell, which again, we talked about 90+% of the industry is actually really good and believes that they can sell a bit better than anyone else. Well, let's take away that piece and let's give you a professional system to do it. That's what this is going to deliver, right? It equips the team with tangible tools and structured presentations. That's the other piece. We don't need structured presentations, right? If you're the salesperson, you go out and you don't use that. You don't need those things, right? First of all, you don't even have time to deliver them if you did, because bandwidth and time is the issue, right? But when you do, you take your professionalism to a level that blows minds. I promise you this works so well, right? So we get these structured presentations that builds trust, elevates the client experience, critical piece, right? And consistently closes more deals at those higher price points and margins, right? Now, and this is without depending on the owner's instincts, on your ability to go sell. This is the game changer, right? Step 2 is so critical. In fact, every one of these steps and the steps in the order, by the way, if we go outside of the order of this, we run into problems as well, right? So step 1, critical. Step 2, next critical piece. It's a big one. This is a monster. It's only a few words on this slide, but this is something to build out. This is why you can do it on your own. We have DIY versions of this thing where we can give you all of the tools to do it. But the fact is, if you don't have bandwidth and time to focus on sales and you can't get this done, you need to get this done. You got to figure out a way to get this done. Right? Otherwise, we're stuck in it for quite some time. Like we won't get freed up from it, right? So, how about step 3? Step 3 is then when we build the employee success system. Now, I think most of us hire people and we hire them fast. We hire them without a system for success. So we're often not delivering a successful outcome where, you got to think of your people as the most important investments that you have. Many of us as builder remodelers, we have investment properties, right? And we care more about those investment properties than we care about the investments of our own people, unfortunately, because we don't see them as investments. But the truth is, a person this hire will make you and has the ability to make you more money than one of your investment properties could ever possibly make you. Why? Because they do this consistently, day after day, week after week, month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year. And they do this on into the future. And we'll show you how you keep them and incentivize them to continue to grow and scale with you. Right. And once you get one system in place, you can duplicate this. So this is so beyond a typical investment. You got to think about it and treat them that way. Okay, that's a critical piece, right? Now, so the employee success system, what is it really, right? So at the end of the day, the success system is talking about let's make sure before we hire this person, before we go recruit them, before we get them in place, let's make sure we are ready. I think a lot of mistakes get made because we're not ready to hire in the first place. So we throw people at our problem and it doesn't get what we want. We're not successful at making it happen. We didn't give them the tools to be successful. So the system is designed, one, talk about core values, vision. We have a vision and core values that motivates and excites somebody to want to play with us, to be on our team. We're going to be going after A players here. We cannot go after B and C players. They're not going to free you. B and C players are actually, we put somebody in that seat that's a B or C player, then they're going to suck up more of your time. You're never going to get freed up from it. You're going to be unhappy in the process, and none of this worked. So it's critical that we set up for success. We have all of these things dialed in. We need roles and responsibilities dialed in. We need scorecard system, training plans. Training plan is a huge step number 5 in this, right? But all of this stuff has to be in place. This system has to be there. We have to have a meeting pulse, a high performance meeting pulse directly set up with measurable results, targets and goals, incentive and compensation plan that works for this employee to be successful, and all of the tools in this, right? So this is all part of the game. Now, what is step number 3 giving us here? Step number 3 is delivering. This step sets your new salesperson up to win from day one. Now, they need to be able to win from day one and promise you this. If you're looking for an A player and they come onto your team and you do not have some of this stuff in place, they are going to be scared immediately that they've got themselves into the wrong business because we haven't set them up for success. They're seeing that they may be a B or C player won't worry about this stuff. That should also scare us, right? A B or C player isn't going to be concerned about this, right? About them being set up to win. When they see that you're set up to win, they get excited because now they can see the possibility of how they can go to the next level with you and what you're going to provide them to get there, right? Critical. This game changer separates you from everyone else out there, right? It truly does. This is a whole different language we're speaking here, right? So step 3, by defining the culture, right? By defining the culture, the expectations, compensation, and clear success metrics. This is what we're getting from this step. When we have all of this stuff in place, total game changer. This creates alignment, right? This creates that alignment, motivation, and accountability. It's the accountability that's critical. How often do we throw people into a role but no accountability to keep them to? And then we just get upset when they're not delivering for us, but they didn't have the metrics and measure in place. They didn't know what the targets were. We didn't give them the tools to be successful. We get upset because, or we're not keeping them accountable either. And then we're upset when they're not performing, right? So this is why I say it's so important that we need to be ready to hire. And if we're not ready actually to hire, and hiring in advance of that is where this stuff falls apart, where we don't get freed up. And why, if you've ever tried to go down this road before, where you might be saying, hey, this is maybe where I dropped the ball the first time around, right? And so what has to change? This is what has to change. You know, it transforms hiring. This is the truth. It transforms hiring from a gamble, from a hope, from a prayer, right? To predictability, a predictable path where great people thrive and perform. And then, as I mentioned earlier, stay. And the stay how important is to stay? Because if you get them to this point and then they leave because they're in the wrong place, they don't feel like you're at the level that they need to play at or even want to play at, they're going to end up leaving you at some point, right? So you're giving them the tools to be successful where people thrive. We actually use a tool in here called Dive, Survive, Thrive as part of our success system, right? Where people, where they understand what thriving looks like, and we're giving them what that path looks like. And the more that they thrive, the more we can bonus and incentivize them to continue to thrive with us. Imagine when we have a team of people that thrive, especially in this role. Game changer. It's great. Changes everything. Now, step 4, we get into the exciting part. Let's start recruiting. Let's get this person on board, right? Let's find this A player. And I'm telling you, and this is why, whoops, I'll go back here. I'm telling you, this is why, like, not before steps 1 to 3. Please, if you're doing this on your own, do not start recruiting before steps 1 to 3. And why that's so important is because we got to have everything in place. We say a few different things, right? 1, let's make sure we get profit before growth. Let's get our numbers right. Let's understand profitability before we try to grow and scale our business. But number 2 here, the second of 2 or 3 of these things is we have to get our systems before people, right? And that's what we're talking about. And you'll see everything that we talk about in here, we use the words either process or system. And this is how we get repeatable and scalable, right? So when we think about this, let's make sure we have systems before people and profit before growth. We get those 2 things right, everything else changes, right? So what are we doing at this stage of recruiting and how are we going to do it, right? We're going to leverage what we call our 10-step hiring process. In this process, we're talking about getting the job ad dialed in. Job ad is like number 1. The wrong job ad is not attracting the A player, right? So job ad is critical to the step, right? Video interviews, questions, assessments, right? Having an assessment, making sure we've got the right assessment. And this is where our partnership with a contractor staffing comes in. We use contractor staffing to partner with us. So they're helping us recruit, and we work with them in that process to set up the job ad, to make sure our assessments are right for this role. We deliver those assessments. We then get the video interviews. We go through this process, and then we walk them through another assessment at the end. Look, you cannot go deep enough, especially in this role. If you're hiring people for the field, we don't need to go to this level. You're hiring management level or somebody as critical as your salesperson that's going to take the business or the ability to take the business to a level that you never dreamt of before. You got to go 10 times deeper and farther than you thought you needed to for this process in this role. You truly do, right? So the hiring process and those steps are critical to the success of the actual person in the seat, finding and attracting that A player, right? Finding and attracting. Because once we find them, we better attract them to our business or it's not going to work, right? Finding and attracting. Now, what we do at 4 level, in which we keep talking about these things, like we'll build the Elite Builder sales system, we'll build all of that sales process map, and we'll do all of those things. This is what we did with Greg. This is what he said he didn't have time for, right? He didn't know how to hire. Remember, he suggested, those were his words, I literally am not good at hiring. Well, we know that most builders, remodelers are not good at hiring. That we know that only because we hear that over and over. So if that's the truth and we're going to help you get results, then we better do the live interviews. We will do the hiring part for you. Now, of course, you got to make final decision. But at the end of the day, let's get you to the point where it's like, here's 2 or 3 candidates. We see them as A players. They've gone through their process. We've gone through the assessment. We've done the video interview. Everything is lined up. Now let's give you the A player. That's what this does, is helps you get there, right? With as little effort on your part as possible. Now, if you're going to do the heavy lifting on this, make sure you got the interview questions that are going to solve that problem. Remember, this is critical to getting this right. Right now, What are the next steps here? What is step 4 delivering for us, right? It ensures that you hire, you slash we, if we're working with you, you slash we hire, as we did with Greg, with precision. This is the key, with precision, not from desperation or hope, right? We're not hoping that we get the right person. We're dialing it in to the point where we're sure of it because the success system's in place. We know what we got. We got clear roles and responsibilities and know exactly what we're looking for. We know your system and your way. We know your culture and your vision. All of that has to line up, and that's why we do that in advance to get here, right? By following a proven 10-step process here and leveraging expert assessments, you reduce or eliminate. And that's the thing. You can't always fully eliminate, but you're going to reduce dramatically costly hiring mistakes. And believe me, especially in this role, this is a $25,000 to $50,000 mistake. We put the wrong person in with the amount of time, effort, and lost opportunities. It goes way beyond 50K. And none of us have 25 to 50K thousand plus here to burn. So let's do this one right. Critical, critical, critical step. This helps you find that A player who fits your culture, your vision, that's willing and capable of selling your way, right? Because they're going to follow the process. Through that interview process, you pulled that out of them. We've had the right questions, and we've done that in a way that is going to figure out, is this person coachable? Or are they pompous and hard-headed and never going to actually step into what you're looking for, right? We need to pull that out. That's huge in this step, right? So who can and will, this is the critical piece, right? We need to find that person who can and will outsell and outperform you. And if we believe that they can do that, then that's the person that we hire, right? Until you believe that, then this is not the person we hire. They need to outsell and outperform you. And typically they can do that fairly easily because that's 100% of what they do, not 10 or 15 or 20% of what they do, right? That's when next level, game changer. And step number 5, right? Develop the training system. This one, again, fairly obvious, or it seems obvious, one that we typically don't have time to get focused on and do properly. But we have a 10-step, we have a 90-day training program and training plan that needs to be in place. And that, again, needs to be customized. This isn't just a cookie cutter thing. This is why, our 4-level is not a cookie cutter coaching program. It's tailored, and it has to be, especially in this role, because it's got to fit your training plan, your software, your system, what you guys do, that process map. And then they have to learn the Elite Builder sales system in the process. So there's a training program that they have to get through, and that plan is dialed in and mapped out for you week by week over the 90 days. So 90 days is a 13-week training plan process. And once you have that, you've got the tool in your hand that allows you to track and measure their success, and it allows you to help them through the process, not beat them up along the way, but help them elevate and get better. Remember, this is your biggest investment, bigger than any property investment you've ever had. This is what's possible here, right? So this is where we go with this. Now, the last icing on the cake to me is this is at 4-level. We have the 4 levels, 2-day online sales training program for builders and remodelers. And this is a very in-depth, this is like literally 100 pages of tools and guidance, and we go through in our sales training program. But this is like the icing on the cake. The 90-day training is the in-house plan. This is what you guys work with. The sales training is the actual, sales training for a salesperson, right? Next level. So what this step does is turns your new hire into a confident, high-performing salesperson. Confident, high-performing, critical, what we need, right? With a customized 90-day in-house training plan, as we talked about, they're set up for success. And then that training is designed for them to master your new Elite Builder sales system, right? As we talked about, when they master that and they know when to deploy those secret weapons along the way and how they show up, you separate yourself from everyone else. This is when we close more deals at much higher price points, right? So that sales training gives them the knowledge, the tools, the habits to sell way beyond their current capabilities, even though they're probably already good if we found the right A player, right? This is next level, right? Now, when you combine all of those things and those 5 steps, what happens here, right? This is the critical piece. And the truth is, if you think about the 10 common mistakes that builders often make when hiring and trying to replace this person, this eliminates all of those 10, right? Because what does it do? It allows us now to know when we're ready to hire and when we're not, how to be ready to hire and make that first next step, right? Have a clearly defined sales system, have a clearly defined target and client profile, right? That comes right from that first assessment in step number 1, right? Have a well thought out compensation and incentive package. Critical if we're going to make this move and attract an A player, right? Have that 90-day training and onboarding plan in place, right? Onboarding and training is so important along the way. You then have all of that together. These steps build, sales relevant tools that enhances taking that lead to a client and all the way through. Now you got the assets to give, which is what that salesperson needs from you. It's not instinct. I can't just share what's in my head. I got to give them the tools, right? We have the proper KPIs, the KPIs being the key performance indicators, the metrics to be the best they can possibly be. And then when we see those indicators, we now know where they need our help, where there's gaps in what they do and how we can help them get to that next level. Those key performance indicators are critical management tools. Critical management tools if we're going to help them be successful. Know how to hire that correct individual that fits your business's personality, your culture, and your process, right? And then build confidence in your ability to guide instead of micromanage. Systematize your process to train, measure, and manage your people your way, leading to your freedom. And that is the truth, and it leads to your freedom. And there's nobody better to say that than Greg himself. So I'm going to share this short little video here. Greg telling you in his own words exactly this whole process and what he went through and how it's changed the game. And you can see he sent a text. This is shortly after Mick's his salesperson that we helped him hire through this process. And Nick shares that, Mick just closed his first sale, which was an awesome text, of course, for us to get. This means success. What's cool about this text, though, is that this is on a 42% margin. 42% margin. Now, he was typically at a 32 to 34% margin. Why? Remember I said burn and turn. He had no time to be with clients. So he was trying to get deals done and he would sell lower price point because he didn't have the time to spend with them. So it went through to the next level, right? So I never expected to hit the ground this fast. That's pretty awesome. Let's hear from Greg.
Job tread very casually. We sat having lunch together, and I really didn't know what you did, and I think we just hit it off like personality review, right? And your shirt said you were a coach, and there's a million business coaches there, and I think I probably said something derogatory about how business coaches like they're all snake oil salesmen, and like I don't need that, and you laughed. So we hit it off. And I started kind of complaining about like that I was stuck in a rut where this happens to a lot of construction guys that are me. Meaning, doing this a while. You're in your 50s. You scaled your business to a point where part of it might be going pretty autonomously, but you are the anchor of without you, the business, there's no business. And for me, I was the sales guy. And I think I was complaining that to you that I had all of the other kind of components, production, operations filled out, but I just, like, it's impossible to replace me because I'm so good at it. Nobody can do better than me. I mean, it may not have said that, but it's this stigma in your head. I think you used the word head. It's just this thing. And talking to you, we're like, hey, that's interesting, but you actually can get out of it. And it's a system. Like, you can do it. You just have to follow these steps. And got very intrigued. And then, interestingly enough, you gave me your book. And along with all the other crap books that I get at these shows, I threw it. I threw it in a bag, and I got home, or maybe that night, I don't remember. I opened it up, and I was like, I am reading what this dude is putting down. Like your whole approach, I was like, he's not. He's talking to me. Like Randy and I are on the same page as far as being elevated, really good process oriented things. So that's what kind of keyed me in and separated you from all of the other business coaches that were throwing themselves at me. And I was like, this, because I think that's important. You have to be on the wavelength as your mentor, your coach. Because if they're trying to change you, that's hard. You want somebody that's going to work with you. So I felt very comfortable with you. We came home, we did one of these Zoom calls, and we talked about it. And you were very honest. You're like, Greg, you don't need business coaching. You need coach to help you hire a salesperson specifically, very narrow lanes. And you're like, we don't even really do this, but for you, like, we're just going to carve out a section where this is your goal, and we're going to help you do this. And very, very target oriented. And here's how we do it. And it's a step-by-step process. And if you put your trust in us, it's going to happen. We've done it before. You're not the first person that that's had this issue, and we've solved this problem. And to me, that's what you want to see is results, right? And I trusted. I just trusted you, and I said, okay, like I've spent more money on dumber things than this. So most of them have engines, but uh, so I said, let's do it. And then very quickly we onboarded, and, we got a recruiter, but part of it was introspection to be like, well, what is Peachtree Deck Supports? What do you need? How are we going to do it? How are we going to train this person? And it elevated, it gave me things that I never even thought about. That's why I was like, this is why a coach is great, because I've never done this before. And quite frankly, I'm not good at hiring people anyway. It's not my strong suit. Everybody that works for me here kind of fell into their jobs in one way or the other, and it all worked out. But I'm not a good interviewer, and I knew I couldn't do it on my own. It's too risky to just throw caution to the wind. And I was like, it's totally worth the investment. And that's the way I looked at it. This is an investment to free me up to get to where I want to go. And these are the people that are going to take me there to do it. And it was very smooth. Like we talked about, it did take a little longer. I was panicking. I remember texting you or calling you, like I was like panicking. And you're like, don't worry, man. He's like, we're with you until we find a person. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm like, okay, I'm done. And that was nice. I remember telling my wife how good of a, like, I was like, I was so nervous. And you calmed me down, and I was like, that's what I need. Somebody just give me a little, you know? And yeah, so the process was fantastic. And like I said, I went from that lunch table in Dallas talking to you through I could never do this to now standing here in my office being like, I don't even need to be here today. I could go out, I could go ride my motorcycle. It's a beautiful day. So yeah, it worked out fantastically, and I'm very thankful that we connected that way.
Wow. And honestly, guys, that is why we do what we do here at Four Level, and why I started this business in the first place. And I said it was a passion, because it is. You like being able to transform lives like that is an incredible thing. And what, Greg had shared a quote with us as well. He said, if I look at the jobs, and this is what he said is, remember, he said I couldn't afford this person anyway, right? Is one of those, misconceptions that he had. Said, if I look at all the jobs that our salesperson has closed in such a short time, he's already paid for himself, for the coach, for the coaching, for the recruiter, all of that stuff. And he already paid for it. And now I'm free. And this is the gold. It's that I'm free. He's no longer in that trap, that success trap or golden cage that I mentioned, right? So he says it's kind of a no-brainer. Now, hopefully this is something that moves you in some way, shape, or form. I did what I did with him and said, hey, book a strategy call with me. We'll jump on and we'll walk through your world, your system, your structure, how it works, and let's see if it makes sense for us to move forward. Again, what Greg said is truth. I'm not here to sell you any coaching or anything you don't need. I'm here to help you in the process to try to map out, does it make sense? Does it make sense for you to go to that level? And we share some things with you. If we jump on a call, by all means, I'll get you a copy of this book. Like, This is Game Changer, but absolutely. Or any of our other books, if you wanted to jump on Amazon and grab those, by all means do that. But you can hit the QR code there, jump on that. And if by chance the QR code isn't working for whatever reason, you can email us at info@fourlevelcoach.com. Again, that QR code should work for you. If it's not, by all means, let me know. Now, what I would like to do is answer any questions that you have. Now, we only have a few minutes, but I'm happy to stay on as long as there are questions. Let me make sure that I see if there are questions. Let's see. Q&A here. I have no questions in Q&A. By all means, if you want to shoot something in there, let's do that. Again, let's pull up. If there is anything in there you would like, let's make sure we get that for you. And again, whoops, let me go back. There we go. If you need the link, it's there for you guys. I hope this transformed in some way, shape, or form. I don't see anything in chat either. I have no Q&A. Let me make sure. Oh, I do. Could we go through the process without hiring the CSS team? Yeah, absolutely. In fact, many times we've done it without the CSS team. That's not a critical factor in making sure that that works. They are a portion of it, but we have our process anyway. We go through assessments. We use Colby assessments. We use DISC assessments. There's all kinds of ways to do this, so you don't have to have that. How do I know if we are ready for the stage? Look, here's the fact. Get on a strategy call with me. We'll figure it out. Again, hopefully what you've seen from me and what Greg just shared, I'm not here to sell you anything. If it doesn't make sense and you're not ready for the stage, we'll talk through it, right? We'll make sure we get you some tools and some things that you might get prepared down the road. I have zero interest in selling somebody something they don't need right now. And that's even what I shared with Greg. We don't need coaching. Greg didn't need coaching, but he did need this, right? So let's see what you need in your business and what makes sense. But for me, in terms of like, how do we know? I think at any level, like when I started my first business, I shared with you, I got my first coach out of the gate. So I think any business that's in business, you are a sales and marketing company, right? Yes, you do remodel, but if you're in business, you're a sales and marketing business. And so we're always at the stage of needing this. We just don't feel like we can afford it. Or are we ready for it? And hopefully what I've shared with you here is the fact that, hey, we're all in need of this. We just don't believe that we are, right? So let me make sure I get through a couple more questions. Randy, you talk about implementation. What other implementation items do you do before? Okay, so great question. So in Four Level Coach, we implement a lot of different tools, such as we have just SOP processes. For example, we'll work with you to create SOPs in your business. You don't have to be a coaching client to do that. We do it for coaching clients, but we also do it for clients that aren't in our coaching program. We just do SOPs for them. Or we'll do this, or we'll do, we build out this whole thing. We'll implement the Elite Builder sales system, which gets you the secret weapons and closes more deals, but you don't have to go through the process of removing yourself from sales. It just sets you up to close more deals for yourself and make your life easier, separate you from competition. That's another one. Software integration, that's a huge one for us. We'll implement and make sure we do all the heavy lifting to set your software up so you can be more successful in that. There's so many things that we will implement for you. And in fact, what has happened when working with Greg and working with a number of other clients and our inner circle clients that we do a lot of heavy lifting and implementation for, going into the new year, our entire coaching program is going to be an implementation and coaching program. So it's not going to be just coaching any longer. Let me answer a couple other things. Hopefully that answered that question for Rule. Moses, can we get a recording of this call to show to our business partner? Yeah, absolutely. I think this will be going out likely tomorrow at least in the next couple of days, you guys will be getting a recording of this for sure. By all means, happy to make sure you get this. This will likely go up on our website as well down the road. These are things that we like to keep and have access for people, our webinar series. If you go to 4levelcoach.com, the number 4levelcoach.com, you'll also get a whole bunch of other resources and tools and other webinars that we've done on pricing and systems and software. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of resources in there for you. What is your target customer revenue number or company size? I think, are you talking about our coaching program? I'm assuming we typically work with anyone doing $1 million plus in revenue. We do start as low as 500,000. Typically, I just want anything below 500K if you're not there yet. I'd rather get you the free content and tools and help you put the things in place to get you to the next level before you really need to get into a coaching program. That's, again, I'm not here to sell you coaching programs. I'm here to give you the tools that will help you to get to where you want to go. So typically we're at that 500 to $1 million plus of any builder remodeler, but it's builders, remodelers. It's like Greg's an outdoor remodeler, right? He's building incredible outdoor spaces. So it's as long as we're in the contractor space of some kind, we're in the right zone for us. Brett asked, we have a successful dedicated salesperson and an existing sales process. How can you help us repeat this success with the next hire using our already existing processes? Yeah, if you already have an existing process, that makes it makes our life a heck of a lot easier. But as Greg mentioned, if you remember him he said, man, when I went through this, you shared stuff with me that I never knew existed, right? And so hopefully what we're going to do here for you, Brad, is look at your sales process like we do in step one and analyze what's going on already. And then we take that to another level, right? We say, well, where are the gaps here? Where can we add the Elite Builder sales system and those secret weapons and take what you currently do, which sounds amazing if you're calling it a process and you've already got somebody in place. Amazing. Congratulations. Well done. Now we want to take that, we want to put it on steroids. We want to elevate that to a level that'll just blow our minds. And then the reason we want to do that is because if we're going to start multiplying and repeating this process, let's do it at a level that, it is next level, like it's way up there, right? So we want to take what you've got, put it on steroids, and then put this scalable process into place. So for us, it's just going to make our job easier. You'll pay a whole lot less to do it with us. We'll move the needle faster, likely, right? And then we'll go through that. And again, we do things on done with you, done for you, whatever level that you want to have it done. As I think Greg had shared, we're pretty tailored to what you actually need. We don't have a cookie cutter system. This is, as we say, a bespoke, customized, tailored model for everything that we do, which is what kind of separates us, honestly. So I hope this helps. That's the last of the questions I had. Hopefully I answered questions as well as I could for you guys. If you need anything else from me, again, throw it in chat. Happy to stay around and answer it. Or you can jump on a call with me, hit that QR code. We'll see you in the next couple of days. As I said with Greg, when I saw his name come up, it excited me because I knew we had a chance to help him get freed from his business. And if you're in the same boat, believe me, I'll be excited to see your call too, because we get a chance to actually help. Another question just came in. Just scheduled my call for, fantastic. Tyler, scheduled for Thursday morning. This is what I love, man. Like, this excites me. We get a chance to dive into your world. If this is something that works for you, we'll move forward or do something together. And if it doesn't, I'm going to leave you with some tools and some thoughts and some strategy, regardless. So it will not be not worth your time. We'll make sure that it's really critically valuable for you, regardless of moving forward. All right, guys. So Tyler, I look forward to seeing you. Anyone else that's booked a call, I look forward to seeing you all. And again, I hope this moves the needle for you in some way, shifts our mindset in some way to take our business, ourselves, and our team to the next level. Cheers all.